Today, I'm going to tell you guys how to set up a simple home podcast. And if you stay on to the end of this video, I'll also take you through an advanced podcast setup. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is because someone recently reached out to me on Instagram to ask how to set up a simple home podcast. I gave them the answers, the basics, and I thought, let me do a video just in case someone else is asking. I can easily and quickly just send them a link to this video and they can watch and learn something from it. Another thing, if you stick on to the end of this video, I'll be taking you through also an advanced home podcast setup. Now that that's all to the way, let's roll intro. Now, for a simple home podcast setup, the number one thing I recommend is one camera. This could be a DSLR or mirrorless camera, or you could work with one cell phone. This could be an Android phone or an iPhone. Even though I'll recommend an iPhone, you can still work with an Android. And for the iPhone, I recommend using the Blackmagic camera app. I think this is the best camera app for any iPhone. And this is because you can precisely set controls like the frame rate, the shutter speed, your ISO. You can adjust the exposure using false color on the Blackmagic camera app. You can also choose the file format you want to record with. Is it H.264? Is it H.265? Is it ProRes HQ? Is it just normal ProRes? All these are possible using the Blackmagic camera app on the iPhone. And the reason why I recommend one camera for a simple home podcast setup is because you can have your subject, maybe 2 or 3 people in the frame. Make sure you frame it wide enough not to cut off their hands. Like if I extend my hand out of the frame, you notice my fingers are out of the frame. So make sure you are wide enough, move the camera further back enough to capture all subjects within the frame. And later on in post, you can crop into the subject, you can crop into their faces. Even though you'll be losing a bit of quality, at least you're able to, mimic multiple camera angles. The next thing is lighting. This is tricky. If you have access to a well-lit space where there's lots of window lighting, natural light coming into the set, this is good, this is possible. Be mindful, if you're filming when it is cloudy or when the clouds are moving, this could affect your shot, and you can have variations in exposure. And if you film towards the end of the day, you may lose light quickly. So avoid filming in using natural light where it is not enough or where there could be changes in the weather. To avoid that, film in a controlled lit environment. If the room lights are not enough, that's the top light, you can get yourself 2 portable LED lights of the same make or brand that have the same specifications. Now you can get the Apro A1. I'll leave a link to everything I talk about in the description so you can buy. And when you buy, it does help support this channel and keep me going. But if you don't have access to 2 or more than 1 portable light, just light it with one light in between both subjects so that it is filling and lighting up both subjects. Just try to make sure it's out of frame, it is soft enough and not so harsh. Harsh lighting is not nice lighting. So make sure it is soft enough. Now for audio, the first option could be to use your phone microphone, but the audio captured by the phone might not be good except you're really close up to the phone. And because I said if it's more than one person on set, take the camera as far back and as wide as possible, so you're not going to be able to capture good audio. You may pick up sound that's happening around. So my advice would be try to get some budget-friendly portable wireless microphones. And an example would be the Godox WEC-K2. This microphone can easily fit in your pocket. It's able to get very clear, crystal clear audio on a budget, and they are less than $100. Now, for advanced podcast setup, I'll be sharing my insight because my wife and I run a home podcast. This setup consists of 3 cameras, multiple lighting, advanced microphones like this one. I'll talk about it. But first of all, cameras. Our camera setup is a 3-camera setup. The middle camera is sometimes Sony A7 IV or the Panasonic GH5 on a very wide angle lens. You're able to capture both subjects in frame. At the start of the podcast series, we had that camera stagnant on a tripod. But later on, we upgraded to getting a Micro 2 Plus slider, which is a Motorola slider that moves from left to right. So just to give you some kind of movement and not keep the shot boring. Now, the cameras that are on the sides are close-up cameras, and these are the Blackmagic Pocket cameras. The one for the host is the Blackmagic Pocket 4. it's towards the left of me, and the one for the guest is the Blackmagic 6K Pro, is towards the right. For lighting, I have a combination of different lights. The key light is the Godox VL150, which is set at about 3%. The reason why I set it so low is because the idea is to create kind of a moody, chilled light setup in this space. So the Godox VL150 is lit using a lantern, a 50 centimeter in diameter lantern from Godox. I also have an overhead light that comes down on both the host and um, the guest. So this is the ZSYB JB150, a bicolor light set at about 10% to light both host and guest from the top. At the ground is a Godox TL60 RGB light. I use this light to just create kind of a separation, more of separation in the set. Sometimes I'll set that blue, sometimes cyan, sometimes red, sometimes orange, depending on how I'm feeling. Also, I have an extra edge light which lights both host and guest from the top. Previously, it used to be the Godox ML60 bicolor light on my left side, and also on the right side, some ZSYB pocket light. But I switched to using the Apro A1, which are very small lights, but very, very powerful. And the good thing is easy to control both lights using the app instead of having to use remotes for the different light that used to be there. So that's all for lighting. Now for audio, I use the Shure MV7X. Now because this is an advanced setup, you don't really want to be using um, portable wireless mics. But if you were not able to get yourself mics like this, which are dynamic mics, you can go ahead to get some more advanced pocket wireless mics, two-in-one mics for the host and the guest. And I would recommend getting either the Holyland Landmarks or the Rode Wireless Pro. The good thing about the Holyland Landmarks is that it produces studio-like crisp audio. I love those microphones. They're very, very good. The other thing, which is the Rode Wireless Pro, is that you can do time code and auto gain, but the quality that is captured by the Holyland Landmarks is not. You can't get it anywhere on a portable wireless mic. For this recording, I'm using Sennheiser MK416 to capture my audio. This is not connected, but this is a Shure MV7X. An alternative, which is even more expensive, is the Shure SM7B, which is an industry standard for podcasts. But there are also other microphones like the Rode Pod and one from Samsung. I'll leave a link in the description to all these alternative mics. So get a microphone like this, which is a Shure MV7X. I think this is about $100 and something. The link will direct you to so you can get it for the price it's currently being sold at. Get yourself either a tabletop mic stand, or you can get the one that comes from the ground. I don't like the ones that come from the ground because it's just I tend to not like things on the ground because it just kind of fills up the space. Walking around may be difficult. So I have this tabletop, but sometimes guests or the host might put their hands on the table, which would create noise. I don't mind it. I think it's part of communication. But sometimes it could be annoying. But for now, I love this desktop mic stand from Samsung. I used to use the Rode ones, but they were too high and to make the microphones in front of the guest and the host face. So I got these ones, a really low profile, and they're very, very solid. The mic is not tilting, it stays in place. So get something like the Shure MV7X, which is just an SLR microphone. You can get the MV7, which could work with USB or XLR. For me, I use the XLR version, and it's connected to the Zoom H6. Another important thing is the microphones have color coded XLR cables. As you can see, this is green so that I can easily know if I'm looking at who is speaking and probably the sound, the voice is too high or too low. I can quickly and easily just adjust the intensity levels on the Zoom H6. Now to take it even further, if you had the advanced setup or even a simple setup, you'd want to introduce plants. I have more than one plant. These are not real plants. These are just fake plants. You can introduce plants into the set. You can further design your space to look good. You can introduce RGB lighting. The room here is painted dark, so I can create kind of a moody vibe for my YouTube recordings and for the podcast, because that's the kind of vibe I like. I like to create a cinematic feel when watching. You're relaxed, you're enjoying the podcast. Some people have their podcast studios or setups in white. I like black. White is good. You'd have to wear contrasting colors. So make sure your guests are wearing contrasting colors. Think of your set design. You can put a shelf at the back. Make sure you're not too close to the walls or to the shelf to create that depth of field. Shoot with lenses that have shallow depth of field that can go as low as 1.4. Now, for my cameras, the Blackmagic cameras, there's no autofocus, so you have to make sure you've dialed in your autofocus in place. I hope in the near future, I would maybe change the Blackmagic cameras to maybe Sony cameras or Canon cameras that have good autofocus, because I'm just one person managing these setups. So that's it for set design, location. Now for post production, I recommend editing using DaVinci Resolve. It's industry standard. It's easy to edit using DaVinci Resolve. It's quicker for me. If you use Adobe Premiere or any other editing software, just make sure you understand your software, make sure it's comfortable. And another thing is storage. It just goes on and on with an advanced podcast setup. Think about storage. If you're shooting with multiple cameras, you're going to think about storage. If you're shooting with high-end cinema cameras like Blackmagic, I shoot in Blackmagic B-Raw 12:1 compression. My problem is storage. I don't even have a RAID setup. So guys, can you recommend a RAID setup for me? I've been thinking about going into RAID setup instead of having multiple hard drives. So that's it for today's video. If you learned something, please don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to notify of my future videos. And finally, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.